Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today's episode 4. And today's episode is a bit different from the other 3 videos. It's not going to be about this room, but about my guest room. So if you've been following my channel, you would know that recently one of my flatmates has moved out, and that allowed us to kind of really think about what we want in this flat. Now I'm sharing the cost with the other flatmate, but that has already changed so much about the quality of my life and the way that I live in this apartment. And I thought it would be a good idea to show you guys what I think about when I design a room from scratch. And shout out to Kentaro for asking how I would design a studio apartment. And this video is for you. So when you start designing a new apartment, there are a lot of different things that you have to think about, and you might actually feel like you're kind of helpless, you don't really know where to begin. But I would like to kind of help you in terms of how to organize your thoughts and what to think before you actually start purchasing furniture. So priority is the most important thing that you have to ask yourself. How would you live in the given space? How do you use the room? Do you come home and just rest in your home? Or do you work at home? Or do you like to host and entertain? All of these are valid questions that you should ask yourself. Because without understanding what you need from this space, you're not going to be able to make the room work for you. And if you're anything like me, and if you're not made of money, then you would also have the same problem like the rest of us, that you have very limited space as well. So priority is the number one thing that you should ask yourself. What do you need out of this room? And when the priorities are set, then you can start placing your big furniture around the room and see how you would move around, navigate through this space. And I'm talking about the bed, the table, the couch. These are the big furniture that you should place first and see what are the optimal locations are. And once the space is mapped out and laid out, then you can start thinking about the POVs. For instance, when you enter a room, what do you see first? And what would you like to see first? When you're sitting at a couch, what would you like to see? Is there something beyond wherever your eyes linger? Does that actually give you more depth to the space? Or is the composition agreeable to your eyes? Those are things that you can ask last. So these are all priorities and thought process and the checklist. They don't have to be strictly followed. What I mean by that is that, like in any design process, it's more circular and it's not linear. You can always go back and fix and change something and then go back to the later stages. You can always go back and forth depending on your needs and unforeseeable challenges. That is the nature of design process. And then comes the styling. Styling isn't necessarily part of the design process, but something to kind of make it more suitable for your aesthetics as opposed to design process, right? So because we are sharing this room and this is going to be our common shared living space / dining room, I also needed to take into consideration what my flatmate Robert wanted out of this room as well. So what he asked me was to turn it into a dining room and also be able to host somebody in case some of our friends and family want to come visit us in Berlin. But also he already had existing furniture like a sofa and a lounge chair from IKEA. And those are the things that I was given a design brief from Robert. And I wanted to meet all of these requirements and requests from Robert, but also turn it into my signature, how I would design a room as well. So we have this tradition in our flat called a dumpling party, and it's an annual party where the current and the former flatmates would come, meet together, and present a dish that could fit into the category of dumpling. It doesn't have to be the Asian dumpling. It could be anything really. It could be a calzone if you want, and then argue that it's because it's enclosed and there's a stuffing inside, it's a dumpling. Anyways, it's a kind of a stupid cute kind of a tradition that we have in this household. But always when we do this kind of a party, we didn't really have a lot of space because all 3 bedrooms are occupied. And then, when there are like 10 people, and kitchen is too small for that kind of a party, so we always kind of spill into Robert's room because he also has a big table. Because we always have parties like Christmas Eve, New Year's, or dumpling parties that we do in this flat, it would be nice to have a room where we can actually have people over, even for birthdays as well. So it has to be a dining room that we can have dinner together, but also spacious enough and organized in a way that we can actually host and entertain 10, 20 people as well. So that was the most important thing. But it is also a room where we could potentially hosting friends and family. The room in question is about 20 square meters big, with one side of the room entirely made of windows and glass door, letting the lush daylight into the room, really lights up the space and make the space feel a lot more spacious. I didn't want to take away the focus from the window and the view out the window. And one thing that I asked my flatmate Robert was to turn the balcony into a forest. Oh boy, did he deliver. Now the window, outside the window, is completely green and I love it. And that's the first thing that I want people to see when they enter the room. I didn't want the focus to be the bed like most rooms are. And that's why I was potentially thinking about like day bed that could work both as a sofa and can be extended into a full queen size bed. And I've already tested on my best friend who visited last month, and then she and her girlfriend had a great time and they said it was really comfortable as well. So I think that's something that I should like give myself a pat in the back. But that said, I really didn't want people to look at it as a bedroom, right? I want it to be something, an additional function, as opposed to like the main function of the room. So I really needed to be more discreet and not really pulling attention from the showstopper window in the room. And also, because most of the time this is going to be a dining room, I wanted the dining space to be the main feature of the room apart from the window. And while we had a lot of functions that we had in mind that needed to be crammed into the space, I didn't want the space to feel cramped. So instead of putting like whole shelves to divide the room, I wanted room to be more discreet and kind of everything to happen under the eye level. So while you still feel the division of the space, but you feel like the space is open. And I really wanted to employ elements that are more discrete but does the job of dividing the space into different zones. One thing that I had in mind is how to make the bed more discreet, right? Because the bed is not the main function of the room. It's more an additional function that we would only use when the guest is here. So it had to be multifunctional. So on the normal day, it'll be a sofa that when we're hosting a dinner party or any kind of a party, people can sit and chat, that can be turned into a queen size bed. The way that I organized the bed is that the bed needed to be right next to the door, but that is not really conducive to feeling so comfortable when you're sleeping. For one, because this is the day bed, one side is kind of blocked. It has walls on its own, as you can see in the picture. But also, visually speaking, the bed standing in the middle of the room doesn't really make it feel so stable, or I felt like it needed to be more fortified and really conceal the bed. So an idea that I come up with was to kind of surround the bed frame with chests of drawers that kind of forms a makeshift wall that are just about the waist high, so that you kind of feel like, oh, this is a separate structure, but it's actually really hiding the bed from a plain view. So whenever you're sitting at the sofa by the window, you actually don't see the bed at all. And when you're entering, you're naturally guided by this wall on the left side and the drawers on the right side, and it just forms this corridor that allows you to follow. And that allows your eyes to be directed right across, right ahead onto the lush greenery out the window. So that was my point of view design. When I already placed all these elements, right, the pre-existing sofa and the dining table, as well as the discrete sofa bed, when this was already decided, the room already planned itself out. When the big pieces of furniture already found its place, the circulation, the navigation model in the room has already formed its path. All I needed to do was to kind of reinforce it so that what these articles of furniture dictate the room to be shaped. And what I did after that was to bring in a carpet to really mark the dining space that is lined up with the entrance corridor, so that it is clearly marked that this is a separate space. I also brought in a secondhand buffet that I found on Kleiner Anzeigen for free. All we had to do was to carry it over to our apartment. And that was a journey, I must tell you, but it was so worth it because it's such a beautiful buffet that I didn't have to pay a dime for, only the transport cost. And that really helps me balance the weight in the room, because most of our furniture was already placed on the right side of the room. There was nothing on the left side, and that really tipped the weight of the room over to the right side. And this buffet is really anchoring and distributing the visual weight when you enter the room. So let me take you to the room and see how it's looking like right now and what needs to be done more. So the room already had a few items. So the sofa was already there, and it had a few shelves as well as some drawers. We are getting rid of most of these tall shelves because they don't really belong in the room. We're probably going to find another purpose of these, or sell them so that we can actually fund the renovation of this room. And that said, a lot of the pieces of furniture that we will buy are actually all of them. They're all secondhand because I don't really see a point in buying new pieces of furniture in this room. I really wanted to basically save money. So far, we purchased a dining table and a sofa bed that is an actual bed, and a buffet. And that's about it. But going forward, we still need 4 moms chest of drawers. I don't know how to pronounce that, but do you know, like these 3-drawer IKEA chest of drawers? I need 4 of those to really surround the bed frame and really separate the bedroom, the sleeping nook, from the rest of the space. The rest, I probably need a curtain to really accentuate and draw the eyes all the way to the back, and some of the accessories like mirror and so on and so forth. So those are now really crucial elements in designing the room, more of the styling aspect of the design. As you can see, the room, when you're sitting at the dining table from the sofa, the other side of the room, the wall is completely empty because we are going to move a projector from Robert's room into this dining slash guest room so that we can have movie nights as well. So that entire wall is going to be completely empty, and we can actually use these IKEA drawers as a stand or like a table where we can put the projector on so that we don't have to move it all the time whenever we want to have a movie night. I think that's really going to help us turn a movie night into a thing, because Robert and I have been talking about doing a movie night for so long, for the past 2 years or so, but we never really did it because I feel like it's always in Robert's room and it's not really a shared space. But I feel like if we actually move the projector into the guest room slash dining room, we'll be able to turn it into a more regular thing. You see what I did there though? Like, you can decide on the priorities based on what you actually do, but you can also make something a priority and design a room in such a way that it'll force you or allow you to actually do something new. You know, if you're not someone who have friends over, maybe actually making a space, designating a space, or organizing your space in such a way that allows you to do so will help you actually do the things that you want to do. Do you know what I mean? So this is what I loved about space design, is that you can design in a way that can really improve the quality of your life and help you do the things that you enjoy doing. Or you can actually design a room and space so that you can acquire a new hobby or, try different things. And if it doesn't work for you, then you can always change back to how you would normally do. So once you walk into the room, then you see this narrow corridor made by the wall on the left side and the chests of drawers on the right side that you naturally just follow. You don't need any explanation. And then you look ahead. This kind of narrow corridor, this compression, allows you to look ahead onto the lush greenery out the window. And that is the point of view that I want everyone to see when they enter the room. And you naturally walk towards the dining room because that's where the main settings are. But you wouldn't necessarily see where the bed is. And I think that is something that if you want your room to be more like a public function as opposed to private, say you host a lot of friends, you like having friends over, having a drink, this is totally something that you can do, to hide your bed in such a way. I mean, of course, there are a lot of these products in the market, those beds that can be mechanically lowered down or like can be hidden into a closet. Those are all the options if you have the money. But even if you don't have the money, you can totally do. For us, that secondhand day bed cost us 100. I think it was 120 or 150. I'm not too sure on that. The dining table was 35 euros. The buffet costs next to nothing. And we're looking at these two IKEA chest of drawers for like 50 euros. And the lamp that I want to be the centerpiece above the dining room also costs 50. So all in all, like how much was that? Including all the transportation so far, that would have cost not more than 400 euros. And you can turn a room into a functioning space under 1,000 euros. Because we want this room to be also a theater as well, so the central lighting above the dining table, the pendant lamp, also has to be discreet. I didn't want anything to draw attention from the beautiful view outside. So it has to be something simple, more austere, but I also wanted it to have a beautiful diffused light. So something naturally more minimal, modern, that kind of echoes the length of the dining table so that it really take up the space without interfering the view from both when you're entering and when you're sitting in the sofa and looking at the other side of the wall to watch a movie. So that's why I chose this rectangular shape long pendant lamp, because that is very discreet but also can hold its own space. Do you know what I mean? And then there was this Puang lounge chair. Do you know, like one of those like IKEA lounge chair that everybody has and everybody is getting rid of? My flatmate had it in the cellar and he wanted the lounge chair in the room. And I really wanted to incorporate that and find the corner for the lounge chair, because at the end of the day, he is also going to be occupying this space too. So I wanted him to feel at home and comfortable and not something that I only created for myself. So I moved the buffet a little bit out so that it still works as a counterbalance to the rest of the room, but also make room for the lounge chair where he can just chill and sit down. I think the way the room is organized, it makes more sense that the dining room has more rounder shape as opposed to rectangular shape, because the rounder dining table allows people to move around easily. Actually, when the table is rounder, you can fit a lot more people in relatively smaller space. And when we have a dinner party, especially for Christmas, there are easily like 10, 20 people. Of course, the dining table is not big enough to sit all 20 people, but if it's anything under like 10 people, we can easily fit all of those people around the dining table. Now, that said, the dining table is not the most stable. So in the future, I would probably think of changing the leg out. Now it's like a pedestal dining table with the extension function. But I think I will try to actually use the black metal legs that I already had from my community table that I couldn't sell, and see where it goes. Because there's already this metal legs in the room, I would probably introduce more metal accent pieces like the lamp, other decorative elements that still can echo and balance this metal leg. Now that all the big furniture has been placed and found their spaces, we need to go in with the other additional elements like carpets and lighting and all the other decorative elements to kind of bring everything together, tie everything together. When you design and style the room, don't go and buy things before actually figuring out what you want to do with the room, because surely you will regret and you will realize that all the things that you rashly purchase don't really fit together. So take a good look around your room and see what you have and try to design based off of what you already own so that you don't have to buy new things unnecessarily, and see how that could work in terms of your space planning and stylizing. When I design a room, I don't really go in with a predetermined style in mind. Rather, I let the room decide, because each room every room comes with its own style, or the neighborhood, the building, and all of those kind of dictate what you can and cannot do in terms of decorating, right? So instead of just, oh, I'm gonna make this beachy Hawaiian vibe apartment inside a 100-year-old Berlin apartment, maybe take a look around and take a look around what kind of furniture you already own so that you can use those pieces of furniture into the new design, and then additionally purchase secondhand items or furniture to kind of accentuate the style that you already have. I feel like that's going to help you make your room more homey and more lifting and more congruous with your surroundings and environment. So, with most of the big purchases made already, all I need more is some decorative objects like mirror and 2 dining tables and 4 more IKEA mom chests of drawers. And with those, I think the room will be ready for a party. Once we're done decorating and designing this room, we're going to throw a party, and maybe hopefully I'll be able to share some footages of the party when that happens. So thank you so much for coming back to my channel and watching this video. Let me know in the comment section what you thought about my thought process, design process, and how you would use some of these ideas into your own design process. I would love to hear back from you guys. And I will come back with another video maybe in a month's time. So far, I've been making and publishing a video once a month. Ideally, I want to do more, but still editing takes a lot of time, and coming up with the idea and shooting and all that, it's taking longer than expected. So I really appreciate that you guys are being patient if anyone's waiting for my video. All right. Thank you so much for checking in today, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye-bye. Ciao. So once you enter the room, so we don't really have the IKEA mom drawers yet, so that we're gonna sell because it's too high for the bed, but it's gonna be 3 levels, 3 doors, and it's gonna surround the entirety of this bed so that it has more weight to it. That shelf is gonna go, the dining table, and there will be 2 more dining chairs over here. I'm probably gonna uncover it and really let the sofa dictate the color palette of this room. So it's mostly going to be the green, blue, and the wooden tone. And this is the buffet that I told you about that I got for free. Isn't it so beautiful? And that's the lounge chair that my flatmate wanted. I haven't quite decided whether I want that where the Buddha statue is sitting on top of, whether to keep it or not, but that's TBD. Right now, I think it's nice to have it there, but maybe get rid of it to make it more spacious. I haven't quite decided. And look how beautiful the window is. It's so green. I love it. And that's the lamp that I bought. That's almost the exact same length as the table here. And then it's gonna be centered around on the ceiling. And we have to really find the right height because I don't want it to be interfering when we're sitting here and watching movies. So right now, the already existing lamp, that needs to go, but it's gonna come just right here. I don't know, maybe like around this height, so that when we're watching from the sofa, it's not gonna be in front of our eyes.